digging ditches. Boss is mean, but some guys are sticking up for you, yay. And you're all at the same time a college student. So did you graduate from Humboldt State with a degree in art? Is that the way it went?
Did I?
Graduate with a degree in art?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and then?
Oh, then I wasn't into Chicano art at the time. There was no such thing as Chicano art.
Right, you had to invent it.
Yeah, and I guess that's where it all started. San Francisco, let me do an aside here. San Francisco at the time used to have an annual outdoor art festival and on the plaza every year. And the idea was to display freelance artists on Civic Center. It went for 2 weeks, I think. And it was open, and a lot of anybody could participate that wanted to. And this friend of mine, well, he became a friend. This this fellow that became a friend saw my work and talked me into getting together with several other artists and creating a group which subsequently became the Chicano Arte Seis. They called us Arte Seis because there were 6 of us.
So to be clear, now you're in San Francisco and you had work in this annual art show that was in the plaza in Civic Center, and this is where the guys saw your work? Okay, and then now, here comes the 6. Okay, now good, please. So go on, so how did that go with the 6 of you?
Well, then we started out with a little hole in the wall, the 6 of us. And it was right across the street from Mission High School, which is now a whole different art scene, of course. It's quite a hangout now, and it has become kind of an alternative lifestyle to openness and free expression and so many other kinds of things that make San Francisco what it is. It's really open and expressive and that sort of thing. But it didn't particularly cater to any one particular ethnicity at the time.
Could I interrupt again to ask about what year would that have been? Say when you're down there and you're showing your work and you connect with these other 5 guys and start the gallery. When was that?
The year?
Yeah.
That would have been about, well, I suppose about 1968.
Oh, boom times in San Francisco. Yeah, the world was wide open.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, please go on.
Yeah. And so anyway, we had little mini art exhibits there, and we started attracting other artists, and then we reached out to community people asking if they would be interested in displaying our artwork with the idea of enhancing customer appeal to appreciate in particular, the Chicano, these 6 Chicano artists that were trying to get something going by showing art in the community, in restaurants, in coffee houses.
Good, yeah.
And we did get a few bites, and then the word got around, and we started getting more participation of artists, Chicano artists in particular, because we were reaching out and specifically to a growing number of Chicano artists
Yeah.
that heretofore had not been known. Whoever would have thought that we being the 6 artists, the Chicano artists specifically, would have had an opportunity to show our artwork at the Museum of Modern Art at the Memorial Building in San Francisco. But it was an opportune time, and we took it and ran with it, and just had a great time with it.
You know, what I hear in that is the power of community. Any one of you couldn't have cracked that door open, but when you were a group, united, the door opened for you, right? I think this is very important. Was it harmonious in the group?
Was it what?
Harmonious.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there was a lot of camaraderie because we had so much in common. We all recognized that we wanted to do something with our art in a special kind of way, because we knew we were artists and we wanted to be recognized, but we never had the opportunity to show in galleries. They were all too spicy. Pricey, I should say.
No, I like spicy. You were too spicy.
And but anyway, we took it and ran with it, and we decided, well, let's do something different. Let's reach out to the community and involve art from a standpoint of all inclusiveness in the neighborhood, in the Chicano neighborhood, and in the Mission District. And so we made flyers and we sent out announcements about what we were doing or going to try to do, and bring artists together of all ilks, such as, regardless of what your art was, painting, drawing, sculpture, ceramics, photography, any kind of art that children, that grandmas wanted to show in the community, and so we were able to do that by opening the doors, so to speak, to the community, and being inclusive and acknowledging that everybody can do art. It's just a matter of opening ourselves to art as a way of coming together in a community kind of way that hadn't been done before.
Fabulous.
And that was pretty exciting because we had this camaraderie, and it was a lot of fun. We met a lot of people. We just had a lot of fun with it. Met a lot of people, but we stayed away, I guess you could say, consciously from the art world. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to be a part of that because it was it was so stilted and I don't know what the word would be, but it just didn't ring right with us because we had been there, done that, and we had always experienced a lot of rejection. You know, you'd go into a gallery and you'd show your portfolio, and they kind of almost laugh at you with tongue in cheek and dismiss you. Mm-hmm. And so we knew what we were up against, and we played it out, but we didn't give it up. And
so let me ask you this: in this time, the gallery is forming. Are you making a living off of your art, or how were you making a living?
I was teaching.
But you were already teaching.
Yeah, I was teaching at San Leandro High School.
Teaching art at San Leandro High?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And I was hired as an art teacher, and so it was an opportune time to take advantage of being able to support myself and make a middle class living, and not be walking the streets looking for a place to sleep.
You had a roof over your head, and you still had time and energy for the gallery, for the movement,
yes.
Right? And for making your own art, too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, so, it was strange times. This was right in the middle of the so-called new wave, if you will, of consciousness. People were opening up to being different, to being who they really were, who they thought they might want to be.
Yeah.
And
it was a whole new idea. But it occurs to me this was also the time of Vietnam.
Exactly.
So did you go to Vietnam?
No, I wasn't. I was in the National Guard, and I served 6 months active duty in the National Guard, 6 years altogether, and then the opportunity came to go to school at the university in Mexico City, and so I jumped on that, and because of that, I got an academic waiver.
Yeah.
For Vietnam.
Yeah.
And
thank God.
Yeah, and
what was it like going to school in Mexico City?
Well, it was totally foreign to me. My Spanish was not really very good. I spoke with what we call in the ghetto, habla con tumba burro, which means you speak Spanish like a tired ass.
Well, that must have gone over big in Mexico City.
Yeah. So it got pretty lonely at times, but still I made my way and met other artists and continued to get involved with meeting other artists that were looking for similar kinds of outlets for their art.
So now, was this before you got the job at San Leandro High and connected with the 6 who started the gallery?
No, this was during.
During. So all that's going on in the Bay Area, and then you hop down to Mexico City. Okay.
Yeah.
How long were you down there?
Oh, not very long. It was just one summer, I think.
Uh-huh.
And then I returned back to San Francisco, and I had to start school again in September, and so I pursued that because that was my income, and I had to have income to do what I wanted to do, which was paint and draw and be more involved in building this concept of Chicano art.
Yeah.
And so we changed venues. We were fortunate in that the six of us, Art de Seis, relocated to another gallery on 14th Street in San Francisco, and as a result of that, this artist fellow let us use his place as a studio and as a gallery to have a specifically Chicano artists display their work.
Was he a Chicano? Is this why he was willing to give you the space?
No, he wasn't. He was Jewish, but very supportive.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of good ideas. It went really well. It was an interesting time to be in because people were really opening up.
Yeah.
And it was like a fun time to be around that kind of energy in San Francisco. There was so much going on. In addition to that, I was playing the drums and playing in clubs. So I kept my music going as well as my art, and that added to my income, which gave me a more comfortable income. Whereas some of the artists that attached themselves to our art they says were still struggling a lot with no place to show their work, and then the opportunity came to open up and show at I don't remember the name of it, but it was a community center in the heart of the Mission District. And getting back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of involving the broader scope of the community in the Mission District, and the show was a huge success. I don't know if you remember Alfred Frankenstein. He was an art critic for the Chronicle. Well, he he really badmouthed us. He thought we were just a ragtag bunch of guys that wanted to drag along on the tail end of what was some kind of a movement that he was trying to make sense of, but he couldn't relate to it because we weren't part of the establishment.
Yeah.
And as a result of it, he gave us really bad reviews. We did, let me back up a little, we did manage to arrange participation in an exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art that was open to ethnic art in general, and so it was a big opening. It was the first time that there was ever such an opening in San Francisco. It was it was a lot of fun because we all showed up. We rented tuxedos and we showed up for this opening at the museum, and it blew their minds because they never thought a bunch of ragtag artists could even fit into tuxedos, let alone show their art. And
It must have been just thrilling for you to go into SF MoMA and see your work on display, huh?
Yeah, it was an exciting time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
In many ways, in that time, because we're about the same age, so I remember it was a time of learning that the rules we'd been taught no longer applied, and that was the world was lying at our feet, and you're proving that by this story, because you were a ragtag guy. You're some kid from Eureka, and here you are walking into SF MoMA in a tuxedo, and your work is up on the walls. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I exhibited, one of the pieces I exhibited was in line with what I had always believed in, and that is that art should be a community affair, not just the artist. And so that opened up new kinds of doors to exposure, to bring in more artists, and that was pretty exciting too, because I got to meet new artists and people, and befriended a number of them. So that went well.
Where is that work now? Your work?
Where is that artwork now?
Yeah.
God knows. It's probably in private collections, and I don't know. I never really followed any kind of a trail of who bought the work.
But your work was selling, huh?
Well, pardon?
Your work was selling?
Yeah, it was selling, but it wasn't so much the selling part. It was the exposure part. We wanted exposure. We weren't particularly interested in selling because the art market was not our market.
Got it.
In San Francisco.
You were doing something else.
Yeah.
The guys I was going around with at that time, they just wanted to sell their work and get rich. So this is very different.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to poke the camera a little bit. I think it might be slipping. I don't want you to fall out of it. Let's try this. Okie dokie. So what happens after the big show at SF MoMA? After you return the tuxedos, then what happens?
Well, then we began. Then we relocated again to another place on 14th Street in the Mission District, and that became what today is the Galeria de la Raza.
Ta-da!
and at that time there was a lot of growing support in the community, and I didn't get involved very much in the politics of it, but I did serve on a board for about 10 years, and brought my expertise as a teacher and my perspectives as an artist, and I really enjoyed that because it was a kind of leadership that was sort of just dropped out of the sky. I don't know.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, I guess so. And then I at the same time I was asked to teach a class at Chabot Community College, and at that time it was called Cal State Hayward, I don't know, we just opened up, and I was invited to have a one-man show at the Chabot student art gallery, and teachers. And so I took advantage of that and put together a one-man show at Chabot Community College, and that went really well. A nice big opening, and a lot of people attended, and so there was a lot of exposure. And at that time, I was no longer teaching at San Leandro. I was beginning to teach at Berkeley High.
Sweet. And so where are we now? Maybe mid-70s?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, yeah. So here you're getting pretty established. Pretty establishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a job, you got a community of other artists. Yeah. Did you move to Berkeley?
At first I moved to Oakland, and along with there's 6 artists that I had come to know as fellow artists and friends, and we did a lot of cross-pollinating, so to speak. Opening up venues for Chicano artists to show in wherever we could, and it went well. It was a struggle, but again, it wasn't because we were interested in making money. What we wanted was exposure.
Yeah.
We wanted to be recognized, and that was the struggle that I had been involved with from the beginning of my time.
Let me ask you this. Recognized as an artist or recognized as a Chicano artist?
A Chicano artist.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
To open the door for...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we were always asked, seemingly, what is a Chicano artist? What is a Chicano? And
what'd you say to that? You're looking at one?
Well, I was asked to teach a class at Cal State Hayward on Chicano art history, which of course I didn't know anything about. There was no Chicano art history. And so my first assignment to my students was, okay, the first assignment is going to be I want you to go to the library and research whatever you can find about Chicano artists. And of course, they came back with nothing.
But Which is-
there was nothing in the school library.
Which is a big teaching right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Plus it bought you some time to figure out what to say for the rest of the class, right?
yeah, exactly. But once again, I used that venue to emphasize the value of community.
Yeah, there you go.
By opening up the gallery to anyone that wanted to show their work, not because they were an MFA or had special kinds of academic credentials, but simply because they were producing art with an emphasis on Chicano imagery,
Yeah.
which meant then that they were emphasizing aspects of well, we called it la cultura, the
Yeah.
culture,
Yeah.
and that opened up a few doors too that might have otherwise been a bit threatening to guys that to people that were somewhat intimidated by what we were trying to do, and but we went with it anyway, and we had a lot of fun with it, and it worked.
So you talk about the 6, and I wonder, can you remember the names of the other 5? That seems important for the record, who the 6 were. So we know there's you. Who were the other 5 Chicano artists involved in this?
Okay, the one that really was the principal person that caught my attention at the Open Art Festival on the plaza in San Francisco was Francisco Camplise, Camplise, and then another one was Ralph Maradiaga. He's no longer alive. He passed probably over 20 years ago. But a really good artist, a graphic silkscreen artist, and later on he got into filmmaking and got into the Stanford School of Filmmaking, and it was just beginning to move with that, and was headed toward becoming a Chicano filmmaker. And what I mean by becoming a Chicano filmmaker, it was emphasizing showing as much as he could aspects of the community culture in the Mission District, and that meant artists, that meant people that were doing embroidery, that were sewing things, that were creating images that were not seen before, and certainly not in galleries, and so that was kind of exciting, because it was kind of like a renewable energy that was coming into the mission,
Right.
For people to show that what is art,
Yeah.
and what can you do with it.
Yeah.
If you can't sell it, what can you do with it?
Not some precious thing for other people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you got 2. Who else? Who were the other? Can you remember the names of the other 3?
Okay, there was Ralph and Francisco and Rene Yanez. He's no longer with us. He passed a couple of years ago, but he was one of the original six, and went on to become the director of the Galeria, and he was the director all the way till the end when he passed away. But he was a political organizer. He was pretty good at what he did. He was a good politician. He knew how to get out there and meet the people. He was more into that than he was actually doing art, as it turned out. He was I guess you could say a starter. He knew how to get people going.
Yeah,
and involved in creating exhibits that would help other artists, Chicano artists specifically, keeping in mind that what we were doing was really trying to show art in the community. And in a way defining Chicano art.
Yeah. And you had a higher purpose.
Yeah.
So there's 1, 2, 3, I think, okay, 2 more to get to 6.
Yeah.
I know I'm putting you on the spot, but this is history.
Yeah. I'm trying to recall. Okay, so we have let's see, Ralph, Francisco, well, then we started showing. The 6 of us continued to exhibit our work in group shows. There were no one-man shows at that time for other Chicano artists. We started working more as a group, a solidifying group that was supporting one another.
And see, that's really amazing to me, because I remember artists at that time as being pretty competitive. There was just a small number of slots that would lead to being rich and famous, and the guys were fighting for them. I also might mention, it's all guys, right?
The what?
It's all guys. This is before women could be recognized as being legitimate artists on their own, right? We were all in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah, that's a really important aspect of this. We were Latina women were supposed to stay at home and take care of the domestic domain.
Yep.
And
all women.
And
yep.
Who had time for art? You should be busy raising your kids.
Yep.
And but we opened a lot of doors for female artists. As a matter of fact, this is a whole nother venue, but the now famous alley mural art, fence art, was started in the Mission District by by a group of women, Chicana women. Patricia Rodriguez was one of the primary female artists, and a number of others. I'd have to go through my records and find out, do some digging to pull out names and what they did. But
I never knew that the murals were started by women.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah, it was called Balmy Alley, which
Yeah.
was kind of like a double entendre, double meaning, and it was a fun time because we were opening doors for Latinas that had never even begun to think that there was a place for them and their art. And
Just as you had not thought there was a place for you in your art.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Revolutionary times.
And for that amount of time, it was just a real exciting time to be around people like that. They were young. We were in our 20s, late 20s. We had a vision of what we wanted to happen, what we wanted to see in galleries. We were tired of the same old, same old. We wanted to be able to reach out to the community at large and make it a part of a specific ethnic group, the Chicano movement. And this was going on at the time that the whole Cesar Chavez movement was really going strong.
Nice, yeah.
And people like what's his name, the famous rock and roll artist, Chicano artist,
Carlos Santana?
Yeah, Santana. Santana was just beginning to come into his music then.
I had some music too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Immortal. Yeah, I was listening to Santana the other day. It ages really well.
Yeah.
Right? Art is art.
Yeah, earlier this summer, I read his autobiography. It was really interesting. It's about a 500-page autobiography of his life experiences.
Yeah.
It was really interesting where he grew up and what he went through.
So it was a time when, well, we could mention at the same time the Black Power movement was going on.
Yeah.
And I think that it's around then that the women's movement began organizing. So it was a time in our country, and a lot of the energy was in the Bay Area, that a lot of the people who'd been held down stood up and said, no more holding us down. But it happens, as in your story, when we organize. So here's the 6 of you organizing, and I continue to be struck by the fact that you all kept getting along. You didn't have fights, you didn't break up the group, that you were working for the greater good. To me, this is very impressive. And it seems to run through your story.
Yeah.
So that's me talking, and we are at almost 57 minutes. Can you believe it? That flew by.
Yeah.
So, shall we stop this one? That feels like a pretty good stopping point. And then we can do this again. We can continue the story. But I think a 1-hour movie is enough for a start. Do you agree?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I want to take it easy. I don't want to feel rushed. I want things to kind of fall into into place in a natural kind of way.
For sure. And it could be that this conversation has stirred the pot a little bit. So I'm going to record the fact that it is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. And so I'll stop this recording.